Let me ask you something. What do you do when life tells you you're broken? What do you do when the world says you can't? Do you surrender quietly? Do you fold your hands and accept it? Or do you stand up, grit your teeth, and say, watch me? Because here's a brutal truth. The greatest tragedy in life is not the presence of evil. It's the silence of the good. When good men sit down, evil stands up. When the strong give up, the weak suffer. When the capable quit, chaos wins. That's why this story matters. This isn't just about evil out there, corruption, injustice, or cruelty. This is about the evil within the voice that says, you can't. The voice that says, why bother? The voice that says, just quit. But today you'll meet someone who refused. Barbara Arrowsmith-Young was born with a broken brain. That's not a metaphor. That's a medical diagnosis. She had a debilitating learning disability. She couldn't tell time. She couldn't understand the relationships between concepts. She struggled with reading comprehension, logic, and math. Her teachers said she had a mental block, an immovable wall between her and the world of knowledge. By the time she was in grade school, she had already been labeled slow, stupid, damaged, hopeless. And worst of all, people stopped trying to help her. They gave up. And when society gives up on you, it's tempting to give up on yourself. But Barbara didn't. She fought, even when she didn't know how, even when it made no sense, even when she failed over and over again. She sat up. She kept trying. She never gave in. Why? Because deep down, she believed in something stronger than her circumstances. She believed in herself. Fast forward to university. Barbara is still struggling, but she stumbles upon a book by Russian neuropsychologist Alexander Luria describing soldiers with brain injuries that affected specific functions exactly like her. And something clicks. What if her brain wasn't broken? What if it was just underdeveloped? What if the mind could be trained like a muscle? It was a revolutionary idea at the time. Neuroscience still believed the brain couldn't change, that you were born with what you had and that was it. But Barbara refused to accept that. She wasn't a neuroscientist. She wasn't a doctor. She didn't have the degrees, the credentials, or the approval of experts. But she had one thing they didn't, the will to try. So she designed her exercises to strengthen her brain like mental push-ups for logic, memory, and reasoning. She created flashcards, puzzles, maps, timelines. She spent hours 10, 12, and 14 doing the work every day. And slowly, something began to change. She began to think clearer, understand deeper, read faster, remember more. Her mind, once considered a dead end, was beginning to come alive. Most people would have stopped there. She could have quietly finished school, lived a modest life, and called it a miracle. But she didn't, because Barbara knew she wasn't the only one. There were millions of others living in silent despair, believing they were stupid, hopeless, or beyond repair. And she knew what would happen if she did nothing. So she built something. She founded the Arrowsmith School, a place where students with learning difficulties could rewire their minds just like she had. Over decades, her program spread across the world. Hundreds of students, thousands, then tens of thousands began to regain hope. They went from failing grades to flourishing lives, from broken belief to unstoppable confidence, all because one woman decided not to sit down. Evil doesn't always come with a gun or a shout. Sometimes it's a whisper in your mind, a quiet lie. You'll never change. This is just who you are. Don't bother trying. Sometimes evil wears the face of indifference. Teachers who say, you're not smart enough. Bosses who say, you'll never lead. Voices that tell you to quit. And every time you listen, every time you stay silent, every time you do nothing, you give it power. But every time you get up, try again, and believe in your ability to grow, you take that power back. Here's the truth. The world doesn't need more critics. It doesn't need more doubters. It doesn't need more people sitting on the sidelines waiting for things to get better. The world needs fighters, men and women who believe that change is possible, people who refuse to accept this is just the way it is. Barbara was one woman, with no money, no connections, no degree in neuroscience. But she had one thing that changed everything: conviction. And that's what you need. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be rich. You don't need a perfect life or perfect tools. You just need to get up, to keep trying, even if you fail, even if they laugh, even if the whole world says you can't, because the truth is you can. Remember this. Every time you stand up for what's right, you become the resistance against evil. Every time you believe in yourself when others doubt, you build strength for those who can't. Every time you don't give up, you become an example. And someone out there needs your example more than you know. Don't underestimate the power of one life, because all that is required for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. So rise, fight back, build something, believe in yourself, and never ever give in. Sit up, keep trying, never give up. Be the reason someone else believes it's possible. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of your power, your purpose, and your ability to make a difference, then don't be silent. Like the video. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below. What are you refusing to give up on? Subscribe to the Stoic Spirit for more stories that wake you up, sharpen your soul, and help you build the life you were meant to live. Stay strong. Stay focused. Live with purpose.